like to pose this question to all of my patients. I'm like, hey, if you had one vehicle, right, for your entire life, like, how would you take care of that vehicle?
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah,
Like they answer like,
right.
I would take care of it. Like, I would do everything to make sure that it'll last me my lifetime.
He sell this car, bro. It's yours. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Modern Man Season 3. We are here at Wine and Design in Greenville, and it is wonderful to have you guys joining us here today. I'm excited to hop into today's subject matter. First, I want to introduce our panelists. To my far right, we have panelist Charles Russ, once again, the usual suspect. I'm excited to introduce our guest panelist to my left, George Cowart, former guest, now guest panelist. Good to have you here, George. And for our guest, Dr. Raymond Nichols, owner of AlignLife, Pelham Falls, chiropractor, health junkie, awesome dude all around, head to top, or bottom, head to bottom, bottom to top. Yeah. Either way, glad to have you here, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Before we jump into the subject, I want to make sure that we introduce you to the folks that are watching, get them to maybe get a glimpse at what you do and how you serve the community.
Cool, yeah. So obviously, like I said, I'm a chiropractor. And the thing is, so we moved here in 2019. Mm-hmm. So we started practicing at April 1st, 2019. So it's going on 2 years now. So
who is we?
My wife. So we're both chiropractors.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're both chiropractors, which it's been phenomenal to work together as a team. But in the chiropractic realm, because a lot of people just don't know what chiropractic is, right? They have all these different maybe like, oh, I experienced this, they experienced this, because everyone is different. Everyone practices different. But chiropractic is very simple for me in the way I serve people. First, we all have to acknowledge that the body heals itself, right? We can say that, right? Yeah. So with that understanding is the body heals itself. So the thing how it heals itself is our nervous system, which is our brain and our spinal cord, right? The thing that protects the brain and spinal cord is our spine, right? So that's why we focus on the spine. So if the nervous system was in your leg, we'd be focused on the leg, right? So with that being said, if we have anything wrong with our spine, that means we have something wrong with our nervous system, which means that we have something wrong with our healing ability and also functionality, right? So I adjust the spine, allow the nervous system to function like it should, allow the body to heal like it should, and allow the body to function like it should.
What was the bug that first got you into all this? Because I mean, I could tell following you on social, just speaking with you, even hearing you speak right now, this isn't a job. This is a life.
Yes, it is. So the thing that comes to mind when you ask that is, when I was a kid, I had these sinus infections. I'm sure you guys have had a sinus infection here and there, but I used to have them all the time. Like, so the sinus headache, everything that comes with that, but every time I would get better, right? So with that being said, I noticed a pattern at 8 years old. I got sick, but I got better like a few days later. So the body heals itself. So I had that understanding at a really early age, and I just really brought that with me. So that was the basis of my philosophy, and I just didn't know that it was a profession that had that same philosophy and that same foundation. And once I want to say discovered, chiropractic picked me or discovered me, it was a no-brainer. I'm like, this is exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Nice.
Right, yeah.
I feel like as men, and I'm sure you guys can all agree, sometimes we're not good at taking care of our own health, you know? And I think we have a great panel up here to have this discussion because, I mean, we're talking to a chiropractor, we have a gym owner, and a business owner who I always see our relationship was built in the gym, pretty much.
That's right.
So it's great that we have some panel of men, and I'd like to kind of go around robin of why do we take care of our health? And I'll bring it back to you, Dr. Ray, but George, why do you think it's important to take care of your health? What keeps you coming to the gym every day?
Well, I'm an avid chiropractor goer, so I believe in chiropractic health because I like to lift, go in the gym, and for me, a little bit about vanity, I guess you could say. I don't want to, everybody always told me wait till you're 40. Well, I'm 41, so I kept that kept kind of pushing me to stay in shape. And for me, it really is about mental health too. I mean, you always see me kind of midday. It breaks up my day. Somewhere between 11 and 1, I'm going to be in the gym every day. I mean, unless something drastically goes wrong. And I don't know, it's a habit. I mean, I've been doing it since I was 18, 19 years old. So I can't imagine not being able to do it. As far as that's what drives me to do it. And the way I feel, when I don't go, I feel not guilty, but I feel bad. Like I don't feel right. And when I stay away from the chiropractor, I get regular adjustments, massages, and that's what keeps me kind of going, because especially at 41, I get broke down a little easier than I used to at 31. And so I feel like whenever I'm in the chiropractor, I can tell a difference, major difference. And I fully believe and agree with you, especially during the times we're living in right now. Self-care is huge, and you don't hear any talk about, keeping yourself healthy. You hear about, staying away from everybody, and I agree with that, and that helps. But I'm going like, why aren't we talking about, like, this is a perfect time to get our community, our world that we live in healthy, because we're not the, I see healthy guys right here, but I don't see healthy guys at the mall every day.
Yeah,
so.
This is probably not the sampling pool of like America in public. Charles, what's the importance of health to you? I mean, gym owner, and since I've known you, you've been in the gym.
Well, Ted, imagine yourself right before we started working out together. So for America and the Modern Man crew, I will tell you this. Fat Ted was a thing. It was a real thing. There's actually pictures of this man that exists like that.
Cut the tape.
Was that a PH or an F?
No, it was an F. It was an F. I actually, we had a direct conversation about it. I saw a picture on social media. I was like, Ted, take that down. And we're going to work next week. Like, we can't do this. But if you look at, like, I have my little 6 pillars of life, whatever. Physical fitness is like number 2 after my faith. Like, you can have all these dreams, all these wants, all these things for your family that you want to do, but if you get sick and you're not healthy, you can't do any of it. There's a huge story, and shout out to my man Natron Scott if you ever see this video. So Natron's a bodybuilder, natural bodybuilder, super huge, jacked, whatever. Natron got diagnosed with cancer, and they had to do an immense amount of chemo. He probably lost 70 pounds, and he just yesterday rung his bell. And it's true, he wouldn't have survived the chemo because they were super aggressive without his training, without his buildup. They said, we won't do this for most people, but I think you can handle it, and we're going to cure you. So there's so many reasons to be healthy. Even my mental state, I'm so clear at the end of the day. For these guys out here, I challenge you and ask you, why do you think companies will pay for health plans for you to go to the gym? It's not for your benefit. It's because they know you're more cognitively aware at the end of the day because you've been training, because you're healthy, because you're more fit. They're not going to lose as many sick days because you're healthier. And if you can't really see that, you're kind of missing the boat. And I would say health too is mental. It's immensely mental. If you don't follow Dr. Ray on Instagram, it's not just the physical part. He sends a lot of stuff out about mental awareness, mental health, understanding where you are in life, and I do feel like that stuff is so important. So I would pose the question to you though: the combination of physical health, mental health. How do you balance those? And how do you balance those? Because you're like me, you got a little one in the house. The balance of doing that, and why it's so important to do both, the physical health along with the mental health.
Yeah. Well, I think it all comes down to when we're talking about this overall thing of health, right? We talk about physical, we talk about the mental, all these different aspects. And like you said, like without your health, like you have nothing. We can have all the money in the world, all of that, but if we don't have our health, then we literally don't have anything. So in this body that we get, I like to pose this question to all of my patients. I'm like, hey, if you had one vehicle, right, for your entire life, like, how would you take care of that vehicle? Yeah. And then it's like, it's a no-brainer, right? Yeah. They answer like, right. I would take care of it. Like, I would do everything to make sure that it'll last me my lifetime.
Can't sell this car, bro. It's yours. No trade-ins, bro. That's it. You might get replaced tire. That's it. That's all you got.
Because the average American goes to about 10 cars in their lifetime, right? And I'm like, and I pose it, the answer, I'm like, hey, so you have one vehicle, and it's this body that I'm working on right now, right? And we have to take care of it. That's why it's that important, right? It's our temple. And then you talk about the mental piece of it. When I don't work out, then, and it's similar to what you guys were saying, is mentally, I'm not there. I'm not at my I'm not expressing who I'm supposed to express and who I want to express at the highest I know, because movement is a need. Just like food, just like water, just like sunlight, all these different needs that we need, movement is the same thing, right? It could be working out, it could just be doing yoga, it could be stretching, whatever it may look like for you guys out there or for you guys, but it can be in any capacity in that. So it's super important.
I love that you said that, because my next question literally was going to be help us bridge the gap, because a lot of people misconstrue fitness as health. Like I know a lot of people who are fit that might not necessarily be healthy, right? Just because you're in the gym all the time doesn't mean you're the healthiest person. I might be munching down on cheeseburgers and still look like I'm fit. Yeah. So there's a difference, and having that movement as a need helps to bridge that gap. But I'd ask you to go a little further on bridging that, on how the physical fitness and the mental health kind of bridge together, and overall holistically too.
Yeah. So it just it goes back to the people that walk in the door every single day. And most of the people that walk in the door is because they're either having pain, some type of aches, and they can't do something they love to do. Behind that, they don't really know that it's something that they can't do, essentially. So I kind of pull that out of them. They just think it's a low back pain, but it's not just a low back pain, right? It's because they can't pick up their kid. Yeah. It's because they're embarrassed because they have to ask someone to tie their shoes. All these different things that someone is having to be waited on because they're in pain, right? Yeah. And we don't want to live that way, and that's why they walk into the door, and they just think it just showed up, but it doesn't just show up. No. Pain and symptoms happen at the end of a problem, right? Not at the beginning of the problem, okay? So when we have these symptoms and pain, that's just communication to us saying that, hey, I can't adapt to my current demands. I've been adapting all this time, I can't adapt anymore, I need you to help me, right? So with that being said so we go from having pain, right? So I always tell patients that it's not about pain. I recommend everyone to go see a chiropractor before you're in pain, right? Yeah. Just to see make sure your nervous system is functioning at 100%, because that's our livelihood. That's how we heal. That's how we function. That's how we adapt. Okay? So like you said, we can be feeling great. We can be just looking amazing. Because I remember when I was in college, I used to eat like crap. Like I played football, but I looked amazing, and I could never gain weight. So I'm like, okay, I could probably do this for the rest of my life, right? But here I am, like I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, I'm healthy, but then so we do some lab tests in our office too, blood tests, just to kind of see what's going on inside. And here I am, I think that I'm healthy. Yeah. My vitamin D is suboptimal, right? My they call it the bad cholesterol, a little higher than what it should be. So I'm getting this data. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm still on this journey. I'm still working. There's still room to go, right? But without that information, I would still know. I would think like, oh, I'm as healthy as a horse. Yeah. Right.
Ray, can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
So you kind of alluded to it though, and there's one big thing that I've learned just in my little fitness journey, and kind of reflect and explain to people. People always take the absence of pain as the absence of a problem, which I found is the most untrue thing in the universe. So can you allude to that and talk to people about that, and how them thinking that, well, nothing hurts, so I must be okay. Yeah.
So it's every day. Every day. So I always literally have to remind my patients that, hey, do you remember when you came in, right? Because the thing that I guess the downside about chiropractic is that people get well fast because their body starts to function like it should. So they think that the problem is fixed. So now it's like, oh, I don't have to go to a chiropractor anymore. So that's why I'm big on education and letting them know, like, hey, like, we had this problem here for a while. It took us years to get here. You put time, energy, and money into getting here. So it's also going to take those resources to move out of that place, right? So with that being said, as far as it's not about the pain, right? Because like I said, when we don't have that pain, then we're like, oh, we're healthy, right? We can express ourselves. There we go. So with that being said, I'm trying to see where I want to go with this. So let me I just actually did a post on this. You just mentioned the Instagram. So did a post on this. I think it's the perfect example. So as a kid, my grandparents raised me. So my grandfather, he's a mechanic, and he had this 1985 Chrysler Fifth Avenue. It was burgundy, I remember. They don't make this car anymore, but it's a car. So I get in the car, ride with him. I see this light that comes on and just looks like a little engine, right? So I asked him, like, hey, like why is this light on? And he tells me that, oh, it's supposed to come on sometime, right? So me, I'm like, oh, okay, it's normal for this light to come on. It's just coming on, right? So I think about that story, I think about those times, and I relate it to now in practice. It's the same thing. Like, our light comes on, right? And that's where we have these symptoms. Yeah. But then if we're in the car and our engine light comes on, and then we're like, oh, maybe it go off, right? And if it does go off, we're like, oh, okay, then we're good. Yeah. But then it comes back on, and we're like, like it's back on. Yeah. Because the problem, like, you never fixed the problem in the first place, right? Yeah. So essentially, their light isn't on yet. Yeah.
There's a lot of people watching right now who have a check engine light on in their car.
There's a second part to this, though, and I'm sorry, I gotta steal this. When you got the expert up here, you gotta do it. So there's a second part to that, because I literally just went through this myself, and I'm lucky I have guys like you. I have a massage guy that's amazing. I keep telling you I'm gonna introduce you guys. You guys will be deadly.
That's a dangerous combination.
Yeah. So, but what about the transfer of feeling okay into pain through healing? My example is, so I had a car wreck, hurt the right side of my body pretty bad. That went away, but the left side of my back started hurting. And then that went away, and I thought I was okay, but someone noticed, like, I had this super weird walk. And they're like someone who hadn't seen me in a while was like, hey, man, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, actually, you're not. So to correct it, I went from having no pain, but this super weird walk, to a lot of pain in one spot, got rid of that. You follow the progression. So what do you tell people when they enter from a point of nothing hurts, I'm good, to all of a sudden they're uncomfortable every day trying to correct an issue? How do you work with people through that? What's the conversation? Yeah. I just did it because I'm military. I'm not hard-headed. I'm like, when they tell you, you do it. And then you get through it. That's about all I had. And it worked. Thank you, Jesus, it worked. But how do you walk people through that? And what is your thoughts on, like, you may transfer into a point of discomfort to find your healthy point?
Yeah. That's a really great topic, actually. So when that comes up is,
You get a point.
It is. So the reason why we're here, just as human beings, is to learn, grow, evolve, and adapt. And the word adaptation. And that's what you was describing, is your body was literally trying to adapt so you can still be able to function, still be able to do what you need to do. When people do walk into my office and maybe they don't have pain, maybe they just want to come in like, yeah, doc, I just want to come in for, they call it cracks, until I give them the proper terminology. Yeah. But for a little crack or two, and then I'm on my way. And then, but when I show them, I'm like look in the mirror, like, let's look at your shoulder, like, let's look at your posture. Let's walk this hallway right here. Let's see your gait, right? And it's dysfunction. But they're not in pain though, but their body has adapted. They just haven't experienced that pain yet. Their light hasn't come on, but their body has been adapting for probably years most of the time. intend that until that light essentially comes on. And also, I would say that when we are going through this healing journey, as you talk about, is when we're going through this, our body is, when we talk about like inflammation, right? So if you cut yourself, right, you have this inflammation, you sprain your ankle, inflammation comes there essentially, like that's a simple term, is just inflammation is there to essentially repair the injury, right? But when we have inflammation, it's there to heal, but also when we have inflammation, we have swelling, which means we're going to have some pain, right? Which means we're going to have a loss of function, because your body's like, we don't want to move this area too much because it's injured, right? So even though our body is healing that process there, so we have to experience a little pain to go through that healing.
So I want to kind of use that perfectly to transition, and I'm going to kind of scope out on the conversation really quick and pull everybody in on unpacking the reason why so many people, and predominantly men, aren't so good at taking care of their health. I think a lot of us just, we wait till the last minute, we wait till it's too late, or we go for however long, like, oh, I'm good, we try to walk it off. But like, you know, I'd start with George and kind of bring it back over to you, is, you know, why do you think, I mean, as men, we don't take care of our health? You mentioned you've been in the gym since 18. Did it start off as, I'm going to work out because you want to get somewhere, or did you work out because you wanted to stay young?
I think you get, you know, obviously I was a skinny high school kid and wanted to gain some muscle. You know, that's what I did. I was a track guy, so I was always a slimmer guy. I was a thin guy, fast guy. And then I gained 30 pounds between the end of my senior year of high school to my freshman year of college. Through the summer and to Christmas break, I came home and everybody's like, "Whoa, who are you?" And I liked that. I liked it's like, "Oh, this is who I should have been in high school." But obviously, I didn't know enough about it. And whenever I attack something or get involved in something or get an interest in something, I become a little bit neurotic about it. I have a passion for it, and if I have a passion for it, look out, because I'm going to just, you know, it's going to intertwine with my life. And exercise and health is a lifestyle. It's not an hour in the gym, because like you said, I mean, we can go put an hour in the gym. We see plenty of guys in the gym every day, and you're going, you know, that's good that you're there, but there's so much more. And we're not going to take workout advice from those guys. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be like, all right, we're good. I see this person, or I see Charles, or I see Ted. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I want to be more like you. Like, I see you doing this. Hey, man, tell me what your secret is. I think guys, men, you know, maybe not us, but a lot of men, and I have friends this way that will, you know, it's when something bad happens. They get a bad report at the doctor. Your cholesterol's high, your blood pressure's high, and they know they're overweight, they know they're out of shape, but you know, it seems like sometimes we wait until the very end, and a lot of times we avoid going to the chiropractor or any type of physician, because we don't want to know what's wrong. Because as long as, like Charles was saying, like as long as nothing's hurting, as long as there's no negative effect, then I'm just going to kind of ignore it. And we do that in all other areas of our lives. And you mentioned something about that I'm very interested in at the moment, especially with COVID, and just of you know, getting 41. And I you know, I don't know how long I'm going to live, but I want to live the best life I can as long as I can. Yeah. And you mentioned inflammation, which we were talking about on another side, but we talked, you know, we haven't really got into the other aspects of health. You briefly mentioned the blood test, which I'm extremely interested in. Yeah. Why are we so deficient in vitamin D now? I mean, have we evolved to a certain place now where, you know, I know we were meant to be outside for longer than we are, but we built these shelters to keep animals from eating us. And that was great, but maybe that had an adverse reaction where we've you know, gotten really inefficient at processing vitamin D. But the other parts, the zinc, the magnesium, all these type of minerals that we don't know anything about unless we really dig in. And to be honest, we all sit across from a doctor, not you, but we sit across from a doctor who is 40 pounds overweight himself and on blood pressure medication. And I don't like medicine. I don't like Advil. I don't like to take anything. And I'm a believer in you, like what you said, our body can heal itself, but it has to be in its optimized state. So I'm real big on that. I'd love to hear what your blood tests do, aside from the chiropractic health, because obviously I believe in the nervous system, and I'm an avid goer and a user of that. But I'm super turned on to this blood test part, like getting our blood right, getting our levels right to create an optimized, I guess an optimized body. Especially as an older man, or as a ripe man, as I've been told.
I told him that yesterday.
Yeah, he told me I was right.
All right.
Yeah.
So going into just speaking about the blood test that you speak about. So yeah, like I thought mine was going to be through, like, just really good, right? So I'm very optimistic. So with that being said, we talk about like vitamin D levels, right? Let's just take that because the majority of people are deficient in vitamin D. Yeah. So like you said, and I like to take things back to, we can say caveman days or whatever you want to call it, but because we're still those human beings. Mm-hmm. We've evolved, but not as much as what we think we've evolved. Our technology has definitely evolved, right, but we haven't evolved as much. So I think we kind of outsmarted ourselves in a way. We obviously talk about these buildings so we can house ourselves and protect ourselves, mm-hmm, but also we're not getting outside to be because we are nature. We are a part of nature, right? We're all one and the same. So we're not getting outside to actually get in the sun, let it hit our skin, not our clothes, but let it hit our skins to activate the vitamin D in our bodies to be able to absorb that, right? So we're not doing that at all. So majority of people are deficient in vitamin D, and even other aspects too. When we talk about just our advancement in technology, right? I think that's the biggest piece of it, and we're kind of just outsmarting ourselves.
Yeah. Now, during our, to tailor to kind of spin this towards our current world, because we are in a pandemic. I've heard a lot of talk about D3. D3 is a supplement, and I don't necessarily know why. That I've heard zinc and magnesium and D3 and a whole bunch of other stuff. But what is that? I mean, is there anything that you're telling your patients currently that they can do to keep themselves more healthy other than just adjustments and things like that? What kind of supplementation?
Yes. Yep. So 100%. So before I go into that, I just want to kind of lay out this whole this tier of healthcare, right? So our bottom tier of healthcare is going to be treating diseases, right? So that's basically where we are, right? That's where we make all our money at in healthcare. The next one above that is going to be more so on prevention. So that's more of the things that you were just talking about earlier about, okay, you can wash your hands, we can stay away from people, we can wear a mask, right? That's more on the prevention side. And then the top layer of that is promotion of wellness and health, right? That's what we're not getting, what you just said, right?
That's right.
All right, so in our office, I make sure that I hit that top level, because that's what I'm all about, and that's what we're all about in the office, is I want to empower my patients, right? I did a post about that too. It's about empowering people, right? Because your body heals itself. And when patients come to me, it's like, hey, doc, you helped me with this. I never take credit because, yes, I helped you with it, but your body did the healing. It's because of you. Like, you are the healer, right? I'm just more so of a guide along in this journey. You're the hero, essentially. So when you're talking about what I tell my patients is, yes, vitamin D. Actually, last month we do like a nutrient of the month each month. So we highlight that, and actually it was vitamin D. And we sold a lot of vitamin D, and I put like flyers all around the office so they can read, come big on education, and they can understand, okay, why we're deficient and why it's important to take vitamin D, but just not any vitamin D, because there's so many out there, right? And just know that, hey, like, this is vitamin D, this is D3 with K2 in it. K2 is going to drive the calcium into the bones and not into like the muscles and the tissues, right? So that's why we include that in the supplement that we use. So I educate them on that piece just so they know, like, this is a high quality vitamin D that you're taking here, right? And this is going to help support your immune system in that. And also with other things, we talk about zinc, right? So we have a multivitamin that has zinc in it. And also I'll talk about drink water, right? Hydrate. It's basic, right? So I think about health is just it's a basic thing.
Do you advocate adding minerals to our water? Because we drink a lot of, bottled water now.
Yeah.
And I've heard of these supplements that you can add back our minerals, because I heard that's not what we're lacking on some of these minerals.
Yes.
That we think we're being healthy by drinking
Just drinking
bottled
water, yeah.
And it's missing, a lot. It's been filtered out, and a lot of the minerals that we need to optimize our body aren't in there anymore. But people don't know because they're not educated. So they think they're doing good. Man, I'm drinking my water. How am I dehydrated? And how am I missing out?
Educate me.
Yeah.
I might have messed up. I let Boobies, that's my baby. I let him drink. I let him, he put his face in a like little muddy puddle outside the other day, and I was just like,
Now, that's that hard water. That's good for you.
It's been filtered through some red clay, It was pulled up. He crawled to it.
Yeah.
And look, he was drawn to it, so I thought it was a thing.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay.
Hey, I drank out of the hose growing up. Apparently, you're not supposed to do that. I turned out okay. I have a pretty good immune system.
But even as a joke, man, so I do got to ask the toxic masculinity question, because I'm military, right?
Yep.
And I'll tell you something, the way it totally affected me. Probably could have gotten 100% disability. Could have. I don't get anything. Because I never went to sick call. Yeah. You're a lieutenant. You get out here and you run with your troops, and you're not hurt. You get out here and you grind with your troops. Mm-hmm. Man, I remember I had plantar fasciitis. Trying to run 5 miles at an 8-minute mile pace, dragging my foot. Pretty sure I dislocated my shoulder one time. Didn't go to sick call. Just walked around like this. I was like, I'm good. Leave me alone. I'll be fine in a couple. Stuff like that. And that's a military reference. Because they're always like, no, you're hard. Mm-hmm. Get out there. Stay out there. Yeah. So one of my kids, finally I took him to Stephen Hawkins, and he has a torn labrum. 90% sure I know exactly when he did it, and it was over a year ago. But he's just been out there. He's just been out there. And I'll see it every now and then. He plays football and he wrestles. He'll make a tackle and he has to come off for a second, and it's just dangling. And I'm cringing, and I'm like, that's not okay. And then he goes back in the game. In the game, he's like, nah, Pops, I'm good. I'm gonna work it out. I'm good. But then we finally took him in for MRI, and he has a torn labrum. And while that's not the end all be all of injuries, it hurts.
Yeah, that's right.
It's painful. So how do you feel like, because I feel like as the modern man, that's what we're saying is like, we got to be a man in the era we're in, and let's take advantage of all the good things that we have, and also let's get rid of these bad habits. Let's be modern. Mm-hmm. How do you feel that that plays in? Have you seen a lot of that? Do you deal with a lot of people that they just, especially guys? I ain't hurt. Nothing wrong with my neck. I'm good.
I might have done that once or twice.
I'm definitely glad you brought that up, because there's a fine line there. I think it goes to the mental capacity of how majority of boys are raised, I guess to say, right? Like you said, we're if you fall, it's rub some dirt on it, keep going, right? I think there's a line there, right?
Hey, Crystal, I ain't let him drink that much. He's gonna be okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. She gonna be real mad that I let him drink that dirty water.
I do want to get into the water though in a second though. Yeah. But I think it's a fine line there as far as rub some dirt on it, or you can come in okay, let's see what's going on here, right? It's okay to, you want to say cry, or be I'm hurt. I can't do this because I'm hurt. It's not this is me trying to get out of something. It's more I'm really hurt, right? And for some reason, as men, we have adopted this mentality of we can't be hurt, we can't get out, so we have to just continue to push through it, push through the pain, right? Because we actually in society we get awarded for that. It's we pushed through the pain. Yeah. So, and the person that's coming to my mind right now, you talk about military. I'm sure all you guys know, have read his story, read his book, David Goggins.
David Goggins.
Right? David Goggins.
Yeah.
And I love the mentality of hardening your mind mentally, right, on that aspect. But obviously I'm not gonna go out there and do what David Goggins has done, but I get his message. Yeah. Right? And I can apply that in the way that I can apply it. Right? Not in the way that he's done it, and like you say, you push through that pain. And for some reason, like men has this mentality, and when they come into the office, and they actually I would say the hardest patients to like. I feel like you know what? I feel like I'm more, I would say more aggressive and more like just straightforward with them, because I know where they're coming from, because I've been there, and I see it every day. So I'm like, hey, I know where you're at.
You're able to relate.
I'm able to relate. Yeah.
I want to let you touch on the water aspect really quick.
Yeah,
and we're coming up on the end of this show, so I hate to wrap it up because we have so many layers of this we need to get to, but definitely hit that point.
For sure, man.
So much. But yeah, so you're speaking about the water. So my best recommendation for water is spring water, fresh spring water. So we drive, well, not right now, before the baby. So before we had our baby, he's almost 3 months now. We was driving about, what's that, to Cedar Head? What's that?
Yeah.
About an hour and a half? 4 hour? Okay. Every 2 weeks to get water for our water dispenser. Okay. There's a fresh spring up there. So when you think about a fresh spring, we talk about those minerals. Are you
collecting it yourself?
Yeah. It's literally, it's always running.
Oh, wow.
You just bring something, you put it up.
You have a big jug you put, right?
A 5 gallon.
Yeah, he puts a big jug under the spring.
Just lets it fill up.
It's a natural spring.
And take it.
Natural spring, right? So you talk about those minerals. Yeah. So that water is literally running through earth, picking up all the minerals, right? It's getting hit by the sunlight, being able to generate and really vitalize the water itself. Because water is not a thing that should be stagnant, right? And it shouldn't be contained, right?
I got to get up to Caesar's Head.
And it's free.
And it's free. You just got to make the drive.
Yeah, like I got to put something else on my schedule, guys.
Hey, man.
Nah, baby, I can't talk. I got to go to Caesar's Head.
But I mean, obviously, I know everyone's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the reality of it.
Is that same with well water?
I'm not too familiar with well water, just because I'm not sure I know obviously where the source is coming from, but as far as, I guess, where it's running from. But as long as it's running, and as long as it's open.
Yeah, we're going to have to make them come inspect. I got a well, I got a creek, I got,
you do?
I got
Okay.
some things.
Hey, Dr. Raymond Nichols, AlignLife, Pelham Falls, man. This has to be part 1 because there's so much depth to health that we haven't even been able to touch on. So I appreciate you taking the time today. That's our time for this episode. Charles, thank you. Appreciate you with the insight, the questions. George, we appreciate you sitting in as a guest panelist. We're going to have you come back again.
Hey, if you have part 2, I'm going to make me a list, because I got a whole list of supplements in my truck right now that I could ask you about all day.
Absolutely.
And there's so much from Raymond. Like, we didn't even get into his mental his mental game, his mental aspect. That's I was like tapping for that, and we just didn't have time for it.
Yeah. Well, with all that being said, then, if you're watching, there's levels to this, and we just got started. Your health is your responsibility. You actually have that on a hoodie.
I do, yeah.
My health, my responsibility. We're gonna have the links where you can link up with Dr. Ray in the show notes for this episode. And I just want to break down some of the things you said. First and foremost, you started off that the body heals itself. We all know that to be true. And then breaking it down to the spine and health. George, you said health is a habit. It became a habit for you being in the gym. And that habit is what is great for your mental health as well, because your body is meant to move. And pain comes at the end. Pain is not the first indication that something's wrong. It's typically the last indication that something is wrong. So I want to urge you guys out there, don't be a tough guy. And this goes for the ladies watching on YouTube as well. If something's aching you and hurting you, you might want to get it checked out. Don't walk around for however many months, days, weeks without getting checked out. And of course, you are a healer. You are your best doctor. Of course, you want to get the opinions from the professionals, people like Dr. Ray and all that, but you make the decision at the end of the day of what to do with your health. Don't be a tough guy. Take care of your health. Be here for a long time. You have one vehicle through this life, and make sure that you can drive that thing until the wheels fall off. Go out there, be a modern man. We appreciate you watching.